I'm just thinking about the pain. Don't judge a book by its cover, but also like, how can you ignore that? Hey guys, welcome or welcome back to another video. Was it just me or did January literally feel like the fastest month ever? I don't know what happened to time. I don't know where the month went, but it's almost February, which means a new stack of books that I might not read. But I will try my best. I have a lot of romance because it is February. Obviously, we want to read a lot of romances. Starting off with Fuel the Fire by Chris and Becca Ritchie. This is the third book in the Calloway Sisters series. Rose and Connor went through like a really big change and we only saw a tiny glimpse of it in Addicted After All. So I'm really curious to see how they're dealing with this whole thing a little bit more in depth. What we saw, like the little snippets that we saw in Addicted After All were really cute. This next book is kind of on the same wavelength, and it's Binding 13 by Chloe Walsh. I've heard so many people compare this book to Addicted Calloway in terms of the friend group, and I'm really looking for another romance series that has a similar friendship vibe and a similar found family, especially since I am getting close to the end of the Addicted Calloway series. I saw Sarah Curley read Binding 13 recently and she really didn't like it, and that just made me even more curious. I'm very intrigued to see for myself. This next one, we're kind of changing gears a little bit. I have Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I have yet to read a single Emily Henry book, and to be honest with you, I haven't really felt super compelled to pick up any of her books, but she's so well loved. I feel like the people who really love her books are so passionately in love with her book, and the people who dislike her books are also just as passionate. And whenever books elicit very strong reactions from people, whether it's negative or positive, it just really piques my attention. I picked Book Lovers in particular because I think of all of her romance books, this seems to be the most loved. This seems to have the most positive reviews, and it's also the one that intrigues me the most. And then we're changing gears again with the Mindfuck series by S.D. Abbey. Honestly, every time I think about this book, it makes me laugh because the premise sounds so ridiculous, but in the best way possible. If you have yet to hear about this series, it's about this woman who's a serial killer and her romance with the FBI agent who is on her case, but he has no idea. This book has also been compared a lot to Criminal Minds. Apparently, the FBI agent is very much Spencer Reid vibes. I mean, I'm a Derek Morgan girl myself, but I see the appeal with Spencer Reid. And since people have said that, I'm now picturing the serial killer girl as Amber Heard. If you guys have seen Criminal Minds, do you remember that episode? They go to LA because this like famous actress who's played by Amber Heard has like a stalker or something, and like her and Reed kind of have this thing. So now I have the serial killer girl as Amber, which I feel like is just gonna make reading that book a lot more entertaining. And then I have another serial killer romance on here. There Are No Saints by Sophie Lark. I haven't read anything by Sophie Lark, but I've heard so many interesting things. I know she writes a lot of these dark romances, which is not typically something that I go for. I've actually not read very many dark romances. I feel like this one might be fun. And why not add more to this whole serial killer romance theme? Why not, right? I know Sophie Lark wrote another really popular series. I think that one's a mafia romance, which I actually haven't read any mafia romances, which sounds kind of crazy because one of my favorite shows of all time is The Sopranos, and the Godfather franchise is like my favorite movie franchise ever. I feel like I should have already read some mafia romances, but for some reason I haven't. Speaking of mafia romances, I have Daisy Hates by Jessa Hastings. This is the second book in the Magnolia Parks universe. I'm really excited to pick this up because I am one of the people that really enjoyed Magnolia Parks. I know that so many people are very passionately against that book, but I really liked it. It was so entertaining. The drama was unreal, and I really enjoyed the writing. I've been meaning to get to this book because honestly, when I heard about the Magnolia Parks series, this book was the one that intrigued me more than Magnolia Parks 1 because look at the tagline at the back. There's guns, there's Jesus. I'm so excited to pick this book up. I don't even know if I can wait until February. Look at this dedication, like that's iconic. And then to switch things up a little bit again, again, I have The Do-Over by Lynn Painter. I have not read her most popular book, Better Than the Movies, I think it's called. I haven't read that one, and I know so many people love it, and I'm honestly really excited to pick that book up, but I kind of want to save that for the summer, and I particularly want to read The Do-Over this month because this one is set during Valentine's Day. It's kind of like a time loop thing where the main character keeps on reliving Valentine's Day over and over again. Sounds like it's gonna be so messy and so fun. If you guys are Supernatural fans, one of my favorite episodes of all time was Mystery Spot. Dude, Asia?
Dude, Asia? Oh, you love the song, you know it.
For some reason, I really enjoy time loop stories. Like, you would think it would get so repetitive and so boring, but I find it so entertaining. I'm gonna read that one on Valentine's Day. I feel like that would be really fun. And then I have a book that I've tried to read like 3 times already, and for some reason I have yet to get past page 15. I think it's because I just haven't really been in the mood for this. Alone with You in the Ether by Miss Olivia Blake. I haven't read anything by Miss Olivia Blake either. For some reason, I just couldn't connect with the story. But also, that's not really fair to say because I only got to page 15, so I need to give it another go. I need to give her another chance since it is a love story. I should probably read this in February. Duh. And then, of course, I have a classic, Pride and Prejudice by Miss Jane Austen. The Enemies to Lovers book, The Blueprint. I loved Pride and Prejudice when I first read this. It's been a minute. You must allow me to tell you how ardently I admire and love you. Anyways, yeah, I really want to read and annotate this book. I think it would be really fun. And then let's move on to the books that are not romances. I really want to finish my reread of The Infernal Devices. I'm up to Clockwork Princess. I am scared, honestly. I've only read this book once. I've reread the first 2 books of The Infernal Devices so many times I've lost count, but whenever it came to this book, I never picked it up again because I just remember the amount of pain that this book caused me when I first read it. But it's overdue. I need to reread it again. I think I'm ready to re-experience that pain. I don't know, maybe I won't be, but we're gonna do it. We're gonna reread Clockwork Princess. I'm actually so excited for this. I'm just thinking about the pain, but it's worth it. It'll be worth it. And then also when I finish my reread of The Mortal Instruments, this is City of Heavenly Fire, the 6th and final book of the series. I think I've only read this book like twice. It's been a while. And then I have a book that has been on my TBR for like the past 3 months. Daughter of the Moon Goddess by Su Lin Tan. First of all, let's just talk about how absolutely gorgeous this cover is. Don't judge a book by its cover, but also like, how can you ignore that? I have been meaning to read this book for so long. This is a fantasy based on Chinese mythology, which sounds so cool and really interesting. I don't think I've ever really read anything like that. And this book, for some reason, just really gives me fall winter vibes. And I live in Southern California, so February is pretty much the last of our winter. Honestly, it's the end of January right now, and it almost feels like spring. So I really need to squeeze this in February because I really want to read this during fall and winter, and I don't want to wait another year. And then last but not the least, I forgot to grab my copy of it, but I really want to read Beartown by Frederick Bachman. I read A Man Called Uva in February of last year, and that book ended up being my favorite book of all time. So I think it's just appropriate for me to pick up another iconic Frederick Bachman book in February. And this one's another like very wintry read since it is set in a hockey town, and hockey seems to play a really big role in this story. So I really want to squeeze this in the last dregs of winter that we have here in Southern California. But yeah, that's my February TBR. There's like 13 books on this list. That's a little bit ambitious for me, but we're gonna try our best. And honestly, even if I don't read all of these books, as long as I read most of them, I'm aiming for more than 50%. If I read more than 50% of this TBR, I will be very happy. But yeah, that is it for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, the notification bell, do your thing, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.